Well, hello there, and welcome to another virtual painting session. So we're going to continue the painting that we started the last time. This is now completely dry. As you recall, last time I went into this with just raw umber and flake white and drew directly onto the surface. We're working on a 9x12 aluminum panel, actually. I want to say I'm not that impressed with these panels, so I'm not really going to speak so much about the panel itself. So it's just a 9x12 inch panel that I'm working on that has about 2 layers of oil paint on it. I'm counting the tone. It had a tone on it before as 1 layer. This is going to be another layer that we're going to paint in. So this would be the 3rd layer. So how's everyone doing today? Hey, Kathy, welcome to the stream. Hey, Ingrid, Darren, Charlie, hey, Chris, Artista, Marty, again, Ingrid. Let's see. In my lessons, do I need to dry the painting before moving on to the next? Yes. Definitely. One way to check, everyone. So great question, Ingrid. To know if your painting is completely dry, it depends on what you want to use. You can either use a razor or you can use your palette knife and just run the palette knife a little bit across the surface. Now, if you're using flake white like me, just make sure that you're not scraping. You're just running the edge. And if there's no resistance, see how it's kind of gliding? Since there's no resistance, that means that we're good to go. So definitely make sure that it's dry before you work on it again. Hey, Dondo. So I hope everyone is doing well. I want to start off really quickly with the topic of flesh colors and specific brands for flesh colors in particular. Also, remember that the photo reference is in the description box. Not the description, sorry. It's not in the description box for certain analytics reasons, but it is in the comments, or sorry, the community section. So please go to the community section of my YouTube channel. Just click on my YouTube channel, scroll through all the tabs, look for something that says community, and you'll see the post containing that. So let me talk about the paint colors and brands as it pertains to painting skin tones. Whatever the skin complexion is, there's going to be a kind of a general solution to it. I always recommend raw umber or burnt umber. Always will recommend one of the umbers to draw with. So that is a staple when it comes to flesh colors, or at least any kind of painting process. If you don't have raw umber, get raw umber because it's very important, or burnt umber, whichever. I just prefer raw umber. So let's get into it. This is based off of the Zorn palette, and no, I'm not ignoring anyone. Just in case I don't get to every single message, just know that I'm trying to keep up with the messages and have a conversation with everyone. So hey, Darla, Chrislita, Tomasi, what's up? Do you have to oil out for each layer after it dries completely? That is a great question. No, I wouldn't oil out with each. I'm not going to oil out with this one. I would oil out only after the 3rd. After the 3rd layer. This is the 3rd, so technically after this one I can, but it all depends on how things go today. But I wouldn't oil out after every one. So this is my standard portrait color palette. You can use whatever palette you want. Hello, Betty. Hey, Sam. You can use whatever palette you want, but for skin tones, there's kind of a general solution no matter what the skin complexion, known as the Zorn palette. It's a 4-color palette. It's a 4-color palette, but I'd be lying to you if I said 4 colors would be all you need to build a portrait painting, because I recommend raw umber always. So technically we're at 5 necessary colors. So raw umber is the most important one, I would say, to any painting, or burnt umber, whichever. So I have Rublev brand. So Rublev is a really good brand for your raw umber. And the white that you use is going to be the next most important color. I'm using Williamsburg Flake White. You can use titanium white if you don't want to use flake white. Or if you want to use flake white but you don't have access to it in your country. Hey Darren, I'll explain what oiling out is after I'm explaining the flake white thing. I'll get back to you. So if you don't have access to flake white, don't worry. You can use titanium white. It'll be perfectly fine. It just won't be as heavy. But I recommend Gamblin's Flake White replacement if you are living in an area that that you can't have lead-based paints. Now, great question. What is oiling out? So thank you, Darren, for that question. Oiling out is, and we'll get there actually with this one, depending on how everything goes with this painting. We'll get there eventually with this painting because I do want to build a portrait painting a little more fast-paced, obviously, than my online classes, but I'll just give you the gist of it. Oiling out is when your colors have sunken in a lot, which they haven't so much this time. You add a combination of oil and solvent into a tube. You mix it up into the tube, and then you apply the oil to your painting, and then you remove the excess oil, which brings back the luminosity of the painting, Darren. So that is what oiling out is. But I don't recommend doing it every single time, because if you do that every single time, it could lead to premature yellowing of the paint film in about, I don't know, like 50 or 80 years or something like that. So yes, I explained the importance of the white. Now the next thing you want to have is your primary yellow that you use for skin tones, which will be yellow ochre. Whatever brand you use, just make sure that it is artist grade at least. This is professional grade. This is Old Holland yellow ochre. You can get by just fine with you know, the other brands like Winsor and Gamblin or whatever. You could get by with that. You want a primary red. This is Cadmium Red Vermilion Williamsburg. And I'm going to skip all the way down there. So Ivory Black. This is Williamsburg. Now this is not meant to be a lesson by any means, because this just isn't there's not enough time to do a complete lesson on this, and I do complete lessons on this in my online classes, but I'm giving you the gist of it. So what you want is a white. This is titanium white. You want a yellow. So this is yellow ochre, a red, cadmium red, and then an ivory black. Okay, you don't necessarily have to have the same brands. You can use Winsor, Gamblin, Old Holland, Williamsburg, whichever you fancy. I'll get into the other colors that are in here, and I'll get into that later. I just want to keep this more about the individual paint tubes and colors. So let's actually use those colors. So let's see. Hey Marlon. You have an amazing likeness. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you so much. I was struggling with that, definitely, last time. So let's start off with a simple skin tone. So I'm going to use Flake White first. And then I'm going to use my Cadmium Red Vermilion. And we're creating a pink. This is our first little mixture of color. No medium is added just yet. So Flake White and Cadmium Red Vermilion. More Flake White than Cadmium Red Vermilion. Next, I'm going to add yellow ochre to create a kind of neutral orange. Yellow ochre for a neutral orange. Since there is no medium in here, the paint is actually really thick. I'm using an acrylic brush. I tend to use synthetic brushes. Synthetic watercolor or acrylic brushes will do. So now we have a kind of light yellowish color. And now what I'm going to do is take the ivory black. Notice that I'm sticking to those four colors. The ivory black, back to the red and the yellow ochre, till I get about a nice little middle skin tone. And then I'll just create different variations of value of it. And that's it. But the reason I suggest to always have raw umber is that the Zorn palette colors that I just talked about are super slow drying. They're really, really slow drying. So it'll be a drag to have to wait. You know, if I had mixed this color with the 4-color palette, this would still be wet. If I didn't use raw umber, this would still be wet, and I wouldn't be able to paint until I'd have to wait for this to dry. Also, I need to mention, since we're talking about painting colors, if you're going to use water mixable oil paints, those work too, except they take a lot longer to dry. Whereas we started this on Saturday and we're working on it again on Monday, I would have had to wait for either next Saturday, so 7 days later for this to dry, or 9 days later if this were water mixable oil paints. So anyway, now I have the more flake white, and we're good. Now I have a color that I can use. Hey Steven. Hey Neeks. I was trying to put on a second layer of paint on a portrait earlier, but the paint wasn't staying on the surface paper. Instead, kept moving around with the previous layer, which was so aggravating. It could be that the previous layer wasn't completely dry, or it could be the surface that you're working on. You said you were working on paper, Neeks, so I wonder. I hypothesize that it could be a combination of the surface and the paints not being dry. So I'm starting off with the forehead, of course. Simple, easy place to work. And I'm going to be adjusting the drawing as I go. Now with my online classes, I don't move this fast. I definitely slow things down and make it so that students of any level can follow along, advanced or just beginning. This is different. This is virtual painting session. I'm going at my own speed, and I'm trying to keep up with the questions and the comments. So I won't be, as a result, I won't be able to explain everything, but I'll explain the best that I can. That was the first little halftone on the side of the forehead. It looks like my raw umber is starting to fall down. It's unfortunate. Let's see. My water mixable is dry in 3 days. Hey, Linda. Oh, that's good. I've never had that experience. They always take very long to dry. So, Linda, what brand are you using? I'm interested in this. Because my experience is with Holbein, Winsor Newton's Artisan, and Cobra being my favorite to use for the water mixables, and that's the one I recommend to everyone. But I'm just wondering, Linda, which ones you use that dry in 3 days. Hey Mira. Oh, I'm glad that you enjoyed the little demo for the skin tones. Hey Darla, did you say you're not going to use medium today? No, I will. I will at some point. Not a lot, but I will use medium at some point. And I usually use medium whenever I feel like the paint needs to be a little more thin. Hey Ingrid. Oh, I'm glad that you enjoyed the lessons. Yeah, so Ingrid, as you're noticing, the lessons are created in such a way that they're step by step. This isn't. I'm flying through. This would be considered for me flying through the process. So I'm so happy that you're liking the courses, Ingrid. Hey, picker pencil. What type of charcoal do you like for portraits? I like the Nitram Fusane charcoal. But I also like Winsor Newton's Vine charcoal and Grumbacher's Vine charcoal. I usually like medium, the medium Vine charcoal. That's what I like to use other than the Nitram. Or Nitram, however it's pronounced. So already I'm going to have to get smaller brushes out. This is a pretty tiny portrait for me. You know, it may look like a bigger portrait depending on the size screen that you're using. But this is a 9 by 10 inches. Sorry, I don't know the conversion to centimeters off the top of my head. But as you see, this is my hand. Like, this is a very small portrait. So I'm going to have to go in with small brushes pretty much right away. Hey, Adil. Thank you. Let's see. Hey, Marty. Hey, Pari. Will you try to keep skin colors according to the reference photo, or is it only a reference for values and you mix your own flesh tones? Great question. So actually, since I'm going to be layering this, I'm not concerned in getting the right color just yet, but I am trying to use what I refer to in the first lesson of my classes, the uh, local color stage, which is the average color of every section. And then in the second project in my online classes, I changed the terminology to color underpainting. So what we're doing is more or less color underpainting at this point. So when you're layering with the classical approach, unlike with, see now I'm gonna have to use medium. So unlike with Alla Prima, it's actually easier um, to layer darker, meaning to paint this lighter. Once it dries very light, like very blasted, the next time I go in, I will be able to have more control over the midtones. So it's easier to put in lighter values in the earlier stages and then build the darker ones on top of the lighter ones. And that's how you glaze. And we'll get into that. Now, not as, I'm not going to explain every little intricacy of glazing and how I glaze, but you will see it in action here. Not today, though. This is going to be more opaque, the color underpainting. Or this is also referred to classically as dead coloring. But I don't like the terminology dead coloring. Just gives me goosebumps, so I don't like the terminology dead color. So I usually don't use that term, but that's one term that artists use for this stage. Let's see. Hey Ingrid, since drying is an issue, why not alkyd oil paints? So it actually drying isn't really an issue with me. If we're talking about water mixable, it is an issue. If we're talking about Winsor Newton, it is an issue because if you read the back side of Winsor Newton tubes, pigment PY35, this is my cadmium yellow, which is here. Whoops. The vehicle is safflower oil. It has safflower oil in this. So if you're using all Winsor Newtons, you actually have a slow drying setup. Whereas I found that Williamsburg and Old Holland dry at a very reasonable rate. So this will actually be dry and workable in maybe even 24 hours. It'll definitely be ready by Wednesday. But yes, I do use, Ingrid, I do use alkyd actually. I have alkyd oil paints. I wouldn't use it here because in the time frame that I'm going to do the stream, Ingrid, it would start to dry and then I wouldn't be able to work on it as much. But I do use alkyds, Ingrid. So what is a good size canvas for portrait, Ingrid? I'd say 11-14 inches. This is a little small for considering a portrait. I would always recommend 11-14. Ingrid, so in the welcome package that I sent you for the online classes, there is an updated materials video, and I have links to the specific panel that I prefer to use, which is the ampersand Gesso board museum series 11-14 inch. So let's see if I missed anything. Hey Ron, hi Pari. How long on average does it take to obtain a likeness by painting with you in your Patreon? So actually I create, actually today I just posted the new drawing templates for the latest project. But usually if students follow the templates that I create for them, they can obtain a likeness really quickly because the likeness is just a confirmation of an accurate drawing. So having having the accurate drawing provided as a reference for them to use. I usually, when I'm filming the lesson, I'll actually put the template here and show my students how to actually use the template. I'm not going to do it here because, again, this isn't an online lesson, but it helps to have the drawing down, and it can be, you can get a likeness that way in maybe just two sittings. You can already get a likeness that way. So hey, Mr. Habit, hi. What is the best primer for portrait? Oh, that's a great question. I've had my my primer or gesso next to me the whole time, so whenever I get that question, I can show you it right here. This is what I used to prepare my surface before I started oil painting on it. This is Liquitex Professional Acrylic Gesso. I just like that it dries overnight, and the tooth to it that you get from this is really nice. And I just dilute it with a little bit of water. I don't do the 50-50 mixture that a lot of people use. What I do is I get a large painter's brush, dip it into water, kind of try to take some of the water off, and then put a gesso right over top of the surface. So, you know, if this was a raw surface, I would just put the gesso right over top of it and then just paint over it for a couple days. But yeah, that's the one that I like to use. Let's see. Hey, Steven. I call it the hidden or X-ray layer. Oh, I think we're talking about the dead coloring or the color underpainting. Hey, Sagar. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Hey, Upari, what color are you adding in mixture in the midtones and shadows? The shadows, these tones, I'm gonna keep. I'm thinking I'm just gonna keep it the umber. We'll see how far I get today, but right now I'm just using raw umber to create different tonalities of the skin tone that I've mixed. That's why I'm saying that raw umber is actually really important for skin tones. Hey, Dark Clown 1560. Instead, cadmium, red, vermilion, what pigment or color do you suggest to use as a replacement? I would suggest pyrrole. I don't know if I can spell it properly, but I'll type it out for you. Pyrrole. I probably misspelled it. Pyrrole red. That's just my guesstimation on how it's spelled. I most likely butchered it. But that's my suggestion if you don't want to use a cadmium red, to use pyrrole. I'm probably not even pronouncing it right, but if you type that in, it'll auto-correct. Now, I'm not going to be going in a window shade type fashion, although it looks like it, but I'm not. Window shade just means going in and finishing one section at a time. Instead, I'm going in and putting in large shapes of value at a time and relating the values to one another. If I were to be window shading, I would spend probably the entire sitting on an eye and then take the eye to full completion. Then there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I like all the layers to be built together, or all the sections of the painting to be built together. Hey, Pofit. You always paint portraits from high contrast photos. Is that a question? If that's a question, I do look for light and shadow contrast. Having light and shadow is well delineated is very important. If you use photo references that don't have very clear light and shadow, it can actually be a little more difficult to create any kind of sense of form. But sometimes I'll use like a natural light, which is softer. Actually, this is natural light because the model's outdoors, but softer window light. I've used that one before. It's more complex though. Hey Ingrid, do I ever use a fast drying medium? Yep, this is a fast drying medium. This is a Venetian medium by Rublev. I pretty much always use a fast dryer. When it comes to mediums, actually, I don't like to use slow dryers because I usually paint in layers. It's only recently with the virtual painting sessions that I restarted the Alaprimas. But of course, now I'm slowing the pace to a more, I guess, more refined painting. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the alla prima. It's just that once in a while I like to switch gears back to a classical style. Hey Ron, can you put a link so I can sign up for your portrait painting classes? Yep, I can do that. Our moderator Dondo is also posting the links, but I will post the Patreon link from time to time as well. So here it is, copy and paste. So there is the Patreon. Feel free to click on the link and it will send you to where my online classes are. And they're only $10 a month. It gets you access to all of the lessons, all of the virtual classrooms. Of course, you can send images to me each week. And it's the best way to contact me. I'm much more keenly focused on my Patreon messages, even than my own text messages. I'll respond to Patreon messages before even looking at my text messages. That's how focused I am with it. But I do get a lot of messages, so it does take a little bit longer than before to get to the messages. But that's no problem. I enjoy all of the questions. Let's see. Hey Artista, some olive tones would be great on the background. I agree. I do think that some of those greenish tones will help to offset the kind of warmer tones. And I will probably paint that in tonight at some point. But right now I'm not really in color mode. Even though I'm using color and this video is about color, I want to explain that you can use color in sequence. It doesn't have to be that kind of instant. I guess the world is all insta everything these days, but you can build color as well, and that's what I'm gonna be doing. I like to build through lighter tones and less thick, believe it or not. Even though I'm not using much medium and the paint is actually very thick, I'm painting with thin applications of thick paint, not to confuse too much. So one little section of very heavy paint at a time is what I'm doing. And that's how I'm sculpting each little area. Hey Ingrid, yep, Dondo is our wonderful monitor. Yep, moderator, moderator. There we go. So yep, Dondo is part of our team here, part of our group. Now I'm putting in the side plane here of the nose. Yep, and Dondo is one of our students as well, a wonderful student. So One thing I want to clarify with this stage in the painting in particular, I know it's not the most exciting for many viewers, but this is also the stage where you can see what you couldn't see before when you were painting in monochrome. I apologize, I know that I had some suggestions to do this completely in monochrome, but there's just such a big advantage when you transition from monochrome to color. It's like a whole nother lens of focus where you can see things that you didn't see before. Hey, Ingrid. Oh, okay. Oh, we're referring to the free lesson. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I hope you enjoyed the free sample lesson. And right now I'm using two brushes, one supposed to be dark, one light, though I'm kind of confusing them from time to time. And it's nice to have a thin application of thick, heavy paint. Now with, this is something that you can obtain with professional grade oil paints, not so much with artist grade. To differentiate between the two, the professional grade is very heavy. This is thick. See this? It's very thick paint, whereas artist grade is more creamy, like melted butter. That's like your Winsor Newton, your Gamboge, your Grumbacher. Those are very creamy. This is something along the lines of sculpting with color. If you you want to think of like Rembrandt, if you zoom into the textures that you see in the Rembrandt paintings, that's definitely something that was achieved using very heavy paints. So obviously the stack lead white that he had. And you see that all my focus is pretty much in the main triangle, the two eyes, the nose. This is what creates the main triangle. So again, please feel free to type your questions out. Last time I had to be very specific about when I was looking at the computer, because the start of a painting is almost always I guess the most interesting to everyone. So now I'm anticipating that we're gonna have less of an audience, so it's gonna be a little more you know, probably less questions. So please feel free to ask any questions on your mind. I'm bouncing my eyes back and forth from the painting to the computer screen. Usually every time we start a painting live, I have to clarify when I'm looking at the screen and when I'm looking at the image, or at the panel or canvas or whatever I'm using. I must say, now that I'm putting in a second layer, I can feel the difference with the aluminum. I wasn't that impressed with the aluminum panel before, but now I'm starting to feel the difference with the aluminum, the buildup of the paint on the aluminum. I can't quite get the right adjective to describe it, but it's layering very nicely, I want to say. It's layering very nicely. And every time I work on a portrait, I always recommend to use a panel or a very fine linen. A very fine portrait grade linen will cost you, of course, more money. And for the same kind of results with less money and arguably more of an archival surface, panels are really the way to go. This is potentially a painting, once it's completed, that will outlive all of my paintings. If we're talking about the archival, the archivalness, if I'm just making that up, but if we're talking about the archival aspect, this one will probably outlive all of my paintings. I'm not even kidding, because I'm working on this aluminum surface and we're following fat over lean very closely. So out of all my paintings, this will probably be the very last one to have any kind of cracking in the paint film in hundreds of years from now. Alrighty, let's see. Hey, Bert, 2008 before 69. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed listening and watching. Hey, Steven, why did you choose this particular image from the set that is available of the same model on Unsplash? I didn't see the other ones that are available of the same model, but I like the turn that her head is making relative to her shoulders and the hat. I don't know. It had a lot of attitude. But thank you for the images you sent as well, Stephen. I really like those images, and I've already archived them. Hey, Mr. Haybat. I live in a country where who can't have money transformed to any how to join. Do you mean the Patreon? Do you mean the online classes, Mr. Haybat? I don't know. I'll paste my link here for you again. If you don't mind clicking on the link, anyone that's curious about the classes. I do believe that Patreon works with different currencies. I'm not an expert in the different currencies and stuff, but I do know that Patreon is international. They have an international service there. For instance, I have students from many different countries. Let's see. Hey, Neeks, I do have to use oil brushes with oil paints, or can I use watercolor brushes? Question mark. Some oil brushes are too hard, stiff for my liking. Oh, I definitely agree with you. These are watercolor brushes that I'm using. I'm using watercolor brushes at the moment that I've read your question. And I do have bristle brushes, but I mainly just use them, since they're all beat up, I mainly just use them to scrape paint. Yep, you can definitely use watercolor brushes, Neeks, and I'm using it actually at the moment. Hey, Darla. Would you say that in this layer, the priority is to block out the local color and its values? It's to lay out the local color and its values. That's what it is. And it's really about building more specificity to your drawing. I think of oil painting as drawing. It's just drawing with color. And that's nothing new. It's something that a lot of artists will say, but it helps. I mean, it helps to think of it as drawing. And of course, I'm skipping a bunch of steps. This is a little more complicated than how I actually teach the procedures. But I teach based off of the fundamentals. The fundamentals are universal, so I have students that use all different kinds of materials. I have students using gouache, I have students using acrylic, students using water mixable oil paints, traditional, digital media. Shout out to you, Dondo. So definitely the fundamentals are universal. So anything you take, not just from my classes, but other classes as well, as long as they're fundamentals based, you can apply them to a vast array of different different media. Hey, Mr. Hypot, I'm in Iran. So I would definitely check out the Patreon website. They would be able to do the conversions for you. And Patreon, do you teach us landscape, Ron? We're getting there. That's actually going to be, so I'm formatting 2 new types of lessons. One is practical figure drawing, and the other is going to be alla prima techniques, in which I'll introduce landscape, Ron. So yes, I'm currently scripting that and figuring out how I'm going to put those lessons out. But yes, those are coming soon. But at the moment, they're mainly portraits. And I do have some more classical landscape ideas in mind as well. I want to paint some canyons and things. And of course, like a volcano of some sort. I didn't forget your suggestion, Steve. So I'm going to start to create more long-term paintings now in these painting sessions. And I will be creating prints of these paintings as well, in case anyone is going to be interested in prints. And of course the originals will be for sale too, but once the prints are finalized. Let's see. Hey Steven, there was another slight similar image minus the branch with better light. Okay, I will look for it. I didn't notice it when I was looking. But this branch, actually, Steven, I liked this branch because it kind of cropped out portions of the photo reference that I knew would probably get me in trouble on YouTube. Hey Ron, can you tell me your artist qualifications? So I studied for one whole year at Studio Incominati, Philadelphia. I also studied for several years with an artist named Paulden Hamilton. I taught at taught in-person classes in Howard County, Maryland before the world shut down. I have a math degree. I was a calculus tutor before doing all of this. What other qualifications? I solved the Einstein puzzle one time when I was working in a car dealership. Of course, that one right there is random. But mainly, my main training is at Studio Incominati and with Paulden Hamilton. The interesting thing about me, I guess, would be that my college degree is actually in math. I didn't choose to do it in art. I chose to do it in math. So let's see. Hey, Crisalita Tomasi, you're part of this is the best teaching in classical style. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that you enjoy the video style. Hey, Darla, some more detail and blending in this layer. In a nutshell, yeah. Basically, yeah. I'm pushing the drawing further in this layer. Spot on, Darla. Correct. Definitely putting more information in this layer. Hey, Paint Trips podcast. Do you glaze with just oil paint or do you use a medium? That's a very good question. Turns out you can glaze with just paint if you're using the Cobra water mixable, because it's very oily. But when I glaze, I use this. This is kind of my main medium. This is Venetian medium by Rublev. I use the Venetian medium to glaze. And thanks for pointing that out about the photo reference, Stephen. Now I'm definitely going to be looking for those images. I didn't know there were other images of this model. Hey Susanna S. Hi Party, how many layers would you usually paint? I think around 4 or 5 for me personally, but with it can vary. My last self-portrait I think had like 10 layers or something like that, something crazy like that. So it varies, but typically this one won't be any more than 4. I don't think. It may be more. We'll see. With the online classes, it's many layers. Many layers. Because everything is, of course, compartmentalized into its own individual topics. So now I just used, for the first time, one of the colors that I didn't explain. So I'm going to actually explain the usage of the other colors on the palette right about now. So this is another important color to have in your color arsenal. This is an alizarin. I say an alizarin because there are many different alizarins you can use. You can use alizarin permanent, alizarin crimson. I have alizarin crimson lake extra old Holland. I highly recommend this one. It's I don't know, maybe like $4 US, more than I guess other brands because it's old Holland. Whoops, I accidentally got some in my finger. It almost looks like blood. Like it's a very this is like perfect for Halloween. Promise I'm fine. See, I'm good. Alizarin Crimson Lake Extra is a transparent red. Any of the alizarins is a transparent red, and you can sneak in this red to make darker reds because it's very transparent. So now that I've explained it, I'm going to start using it. Hey Neeks, do you have like a pile of references saved on your phone/iPad, like me, waiting to be painted, or do you look for a reference when you're about to oil paint? I am like you. I do have a whole bunch of photo references. Now this is from Unsplash. This is from a copyright-free resource. But I do have a lot of photo references. But the problem is they're pretty much all of the same models. So I tend to want to paint different models from time to time. Hey, Ulfred, calculus tutor, question mark. Maybe you can help me with my next semester. I mainly just tutored calculus 1 and calculus 2 and some of linear algebra and differential equations, but ordinary differential equations, not partial. I struggled with partial differential equations. So mainly the 200 level, but I'm pretty sure I'm very rusty on it. Let's see. Hey Steven, what about the fighting? What about the fighting Temeraire for Seascape would make a good Turner master. Oh, okay, so that's one of Turner's landscapes. Wow. Wow, so you actually can see that one in person. I wish I could. Yeah, that would be a good one to look at. So on Unsplash, click on the button that says explore similar images. Got it. All right, I got to check that out. Hey, Angela. Welcome to the painting session. So I'm trying to keep my brushes organized, but I think I've already confused them. At the moment, I just have a light brush and a dark brush. And I'm kind of weaving the planes into one another. And like I said, the average, I guess the average color is what I'm looking for in each area. but I'm also trying to keep the edges still rather soft. So there's that. Obviously, I'm going to minimize this shadow even more than the photo reference has. Hey Paint Trips podcast. I've glazed with just paint and odorless turpentine, but before recently haven't really done much glazing with the technique. Let's see, not holding up with time. Okay, so Paint Trips podcast, excellent comment. So fat over lean is not the same as thick and thin with oil paint. You can thin out paint and have paint thin, and it has nothing to do with fat over lean. So when you're glazing, you want to consider fat over lean. Fat over lean means that you want to have more oil in the later stages, and so you want to use your medium to thin out the paint, because if you use the solvent, so Paint Trips podcast, if you use the solvent, you can thin out the paint and you can get a look of glazing, but you are actually adding the same leanness or fatness to the previous layer. So essentially, you want to add more medium. You want to have a specific medium for glazing, because you want the paint film in the beginning stages to dry, be completely dry by the time you put in the next stage. So I would recommend using either Neo McGilp from Gamboge or Liquin for glazing. That would be my recommendation for you, Paint Trips podcast. Hey Sagar, is this a round brush? Yep, I am using round brushes. I like round brushes because I can get a fine point with them. Let's see. Hey Mar Ruiz. Hello there from Gibraltar. You are the... Oh, thank you. We don't have teachers like you in a small place, so you can't imagine how much I appreciate your videos. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that my videos are helping you out. Thank you so much for your comment. When in doubt, unify. So I'm just kind of unifying that whole shadow shape there. Slow and steady wins the race. Hey Cynthia. Oh yeah, the storm has passed. So this morning I actually lost electricity for like 30 seconds because there was a storm which interrupted my my lesson, but luckily I was able to get everything back and finish my lesson for my online students. So to everyone that's wondering about streaming, since a lot of artists and a lot of creators are streaming on YouTube now, apparently the weather makes a difference. I found out. I mean, I'm not too big of a tech person, but I learned that today. I didn't know that if it's raining heavily, it actually affects my internet, which is wild. I didn't know. So of course I'm starting with the top middle portion of the lips, and I want to make sure to gauge the distance here with the filtrum. I think I can lift the upper lip a little bit. Hey Milad, oh thank you. And again, everyone, please feel free to write your comments. It's not going to be like last time. Last time was much more difficult for me. The umber layer, we did the whole underpainting in one session, which is kind of crazy. But last time it was very difficult for me. Now this is more like a cruising. So last time we definitely set ourselves up for a much more relaxing pace. So I can much more easily answer your questions now. So don't worry about sending questions. Just send me any questions you have on your mind. Hey, Paint Trips Podcast. Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the tip. I didn't think of fat or vermilion. I'm applying glazes at a late stage of the painting that I thought I had built a good thick base. I'm glad that the information helps you out. I'm going to type out the name of the medium that I highly suggest for you. And this goes for everyone as well. I highly recommend this medium. I recommend it because it's easier to get access to this medium than it is to Venetian medium, the one I'm using. This is Neil McGilt from Gamblin. I highly recommend it for painting and for glazing especially. Hey, Manuel. Oh, hey, thanks for watching from Peru. I'm glad that you're enjoying the video. Did you know my parents are from Peru? My parents are from Lima, Peru. I mean, I was born in the U.S., but I visited Peru. You know, my favorite Peruvian dish is ají de gallina. And I actually taught myself how to make it. You know, here, our family refers to ají de gallina as chicken with nuts. But man, Peruvian food is so good. I must say. Hey, Paint Trips Podcast. Yep. So of course there's a little bit of a delay in the comments, so I have posted I have typed out the medium I suggest for you. You can easily get this on Amazon, and I do have links in the description box down below. But also Amazon's gonna have like a sale tomorrow. I think I heard on the news this morning. So I don't know if the paints will be on sale, but that's something worth checking out. Yeah, chicken with nuts. So the reason it's called chicken with nuts is that that Peruvian dish is actually made with walnuts. You kind of create a type of curry type of mixture with walnuts and what was it? I mean, this isn't really a cooking channel, but you use walnuts to create the dish, so that's why we call it chicken with nuts. It has turmeric in it, and ají amarillo is like a specific pepper, and queso fresco, specific type of cheese. Now I'm getting hungry. Oh no, it's not the same Paint Trips Podcast. Hey Steven, my friend went to Peru for a holiday a couple years ago. He loved it. Awesome. I heard that there's a big artist community there as well. I mean, I don't know, but that's what I heard. Hey Frankovich, I find these lessons an opportunity to be with the artists, and the questions are right on. I'm a little surprised that there are not more likes. So yeah, I mean, if anyone likes the stream, please feel free to leave a like. If you don't like the stream, you're free to dislike it, and that's okay. I do get a lot of dislikes, but it's fine. But just know that if you do like the stream, if you don't mind leaving a like, it actually helps with the viewers, helps viewers find this YouTube channel. Hey Shia, Quillen. Hi from Aloso Viejo, California. I've been watching some other YouTube artists who used thin white layer of magic white. Oh, that sounds like the Bob Ross one. What exactly is this product? Is it paint or gesso? What is the purpose? Magic white, I have no clue. That is one of the Bob Ross colors, I think. I think he called it also liquid clear. Um, yeah, I don't know, and I really don't know if I should even speak of anything materials wise based off of the Bob Ross Bill Alexander franchise. But what I can tell you is based off of what I'm using here. Um, I'm using mostly just the paint itself and just tiny, tiny instances of my Venetian medium, which is, allow me to read it out to you from the tube itself. If I can find it, here it is. This is my tube of Venetian medium. This is made by a brand called Rublev. Venetian medium is based on research that 16th century Venetian painters added powdered glass to their paint, contains leaded crystal glass powder, bodied linseed oil with small amounts of wax, turpentine, and lead. A small amount of that. See this tiny amount of that to have the paint flow and to thin out a little bit. But the rest is primarily just the medium itself. Oh my goodness. CZK. Oh, thank you so much for your donation. That is an amazing donation. I hope that wasn't a typo. Thank you so much for your donation. Shout out to you. I'm gonna get all the brushes. You have just made my day. You've made my month. Thank you so much, all of the brushes that are on hand, for your donation to the YouTube channel. And also, I'm going to type out my my Gmail for you. So there is my Gmail, Marty Glenn Play. Please feel free to send me an email, and I can send you a free sample lesson right here. So if you're interested in free sample lesson or free sample lessons, I can send you the sample lesson directly through the Gmail. So Marty, there's my Gmail, and everyone else, you can send me. You can request sample lessons. It's just that the super chats I give priority to, so I oftentimes will respond to them right away, like literally right after the stream ends. So thank you so much, Marty Glenn Play. Oh wow, you have helped me out tremendously. Thank you. Hey Marty, CZK is Czech currency. Oh, okay. Either way, the number is very important. I'm very thankful. So please send me send me an email if you're interested. Either way, anytime I get a super chat, it makes my day. Like it really shows me that the viewers really enjoy the content, and that to me is the most important thing. That you're enjoying the content. Hey Shaya, I've seen 6 artists so far who are using Magic White under different names and still haven't figured it out. What is the ratio for medium to oil paint? So yes, I can talk about this. And again, thank you so much, Marty. Again, Play. Thank you so much. Okay, so I can talk about that. Hey, Chris Lita Tomasi, Lomo Saltado. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Now you're making me hungry. I know what Lomo Saltado is. Okay, so let's talk about the medium, the ratio of medium to oil paint. This is a very good question. Now, I'll give you some historical background information on Vermilion. Typically, the medium that artists used was linseed oil. typically artists use linseed oil or walnut oil. Both linseed oil and walnut oil are slow dryers. So therefore, Vermilion means you want to use less of your linseed or walnut in the earlier layers because it takes longer for it to dry. Now, suppose this, if you use a slow dryer like linseed or walnut too early in your painting, you slow down the drying time of your earlier layers of paint. And if you slow down the drying time of your earlier layers of paint, there is a chance that the later layers of paint may dry before the earlier layers of paint. And that is the instance that you want to avoid. That's where Vermilion comes into play. Vermilion is so that you avoid the later layers drying before the earlier layers. So the later layers, if they dry before the earlier layers, can lead to cracking of the paint film. So to bring this back towards a more practical note, in the beginning, use a lot of raw umber because it dries super fast. Use flake white or an underpainting white because it dries super fast. It'll settle very quickly. Or you can use an alkyd as well. Later on, after you have a bunch of layers, you can then start to add more medium. And what happens to oil paint when you add more medium? It becomes semi-transparent application of oil paint. In other words, glazing. So that's how come you can glaze, because of Vermilion. So hopefully that helps out. Now, I'm not really mentioning specific ratios because that can vary. Let me see. Hey Ingrid, what paint colors do I need for your online classes? So I would suggest the Zorin palette, the 4-color palette, but the most important color is going to be raw umber. That's the one you're going to use first to prepare your surfaces. You can go with a more inexpensive one if you would like Winsor Newton. It still dries pretty fast. This was Winsor Newton, and it still dried pretty fast. So for starters, I would definitely get raw umber, and then you can get the Zorin palette, which is the white, the red, the yellow, ochre, and the ivory black. And that's all you really need for skin colors. Alizarin crimson, again, is a good one to have because it's a very transparent red, but you can get by without it. Let's see. I think I missed a few comments here. Oh, thanks, Marty. Yep, looking forward to your email. Thanks for the heart emojis. Sorry I missed a bunch of comments. I'm going to get to the comments right away. Hey, Salwa, apologize. Hey, Pavlo, what's up, buddy? He said thanks for stating the obvious, but the girl's head is still leaning too much to the left. I hope you will fix it, but I feel like you will keep it that way. Pablo, you're probably right, and at that point, it's probably my error. So I'm just gonna, yeah, you're right. I'm probably just going to leave it as is. So what do you mean? Oh, I mean, I hope I didn't offend you. Apologize for that, Pablo. Yeah, I'd be sending you a virtual hug right now if I could. Apologize if I hurt your feelings when I wrote that. I tend to say whatever is on my mind, which can get me in trouble in social instances. So Pablo, it's not anything against you. It's just I'm just weird. That's how I am. So I'm sending you a virtual hug, Pablo. Hey, Steven. Liquid white, liquid clear, and liquid black. I have used all three added to canvas prior to painting. Allows you to easily mix paint on canvas. I started my journey using this method. Awesome. So I think that's referring to the Bob Ross, the liquid white that we were talking about. Hey, Katie. I just want to say thank you so much for everything you do. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that you like everything that I do here. I'm new to oil painting, and watching your videos has really helped me. Thank you again. I'll thank you for watching. Jerry Robertson. Bob Ross used magic white to cover his entire canvas before he started painting. he was using wet on wet painting. This portrait is different. Yeah, this is not wet on. This is wet on dry at the moment. But the ala primas that we did, like the last one we did of the rooster, that one was wet on wet. This one is wet on dry. Hey Ingrid. Okay, I think I answered that one. I didn't realize I had so many other comments that I missed. Hey Crysalita Tomasi. Magic White takes forever to dry. I tried it by accident and I had to start a new canvas. Oh no. But I guess it makes sense that it takes forever to dry because with Alla Prima, a slow dryer like that would give you plenty of time. Just got your email, Marty. So I'll definitely respond to you after the stream ends. Let's see. Hey, Dizorian, which raw umber are you using? Question mark. To me, it really looks like burnt umber, way more reddish than raw umbers I've seen. This raw umber is, I'll show you right here. I actually used two different raw umbers, not to complicate things, but I used French umber by Rublev, which is just another raw umber. I like Rublev brand because it doesn't have any extra additives to it, and I used it to tone my surface. Once that dried, then I used Winsor Newton's raw umber to draw, which is what you're seeing now. Well, at least what you're seeing over here. Hey, Crysalita Tomasi. Emmanuel, I'm from Peru, living in Illinois. Oh, wow. Awesome. See, I really enjoy the community aspect that we have here. I apologize to anyone if I offended anyone or hurt anyone's feelings. Like I said, do you remember my older videos that were more voice-over style, and then I had to slowly transition or teach myself how to paint and talk? I'm someone that says whatever is on my mind. So sometimes I can get in trouble in social situations. I may say something that may be offensive, but I don't mean to be offensive. So feel free to call me out if I say anything that offends anyone. And again, these videos have a much different tone. Hey, Pablo. Oh, thank you. Let's see. No, I don't feel offended at all. I can also bring... I can also be annoying maybe sometimes. No, you're not annoying. Don't worry. I'm just a perfectionist and tend to see every slight inaccuracy and hurt my eyes. I watched every session from the beginning. Oh, thank you, Pablo. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I apologize. That must have come off as really rude, what I said last time. I'm sorry, buddy. Just yesterday, I got in trouble with my fiance's family for opening my mouth. So I always get in some kind of social trouble. But in any case, now, as I mentioned before, trying to keep this about the painting. See how I've now moved from up here down? I'm going to return to the top eventually. I still have a little bit more left to do down here. Hey, Sakar, any book you recommend for beginning, starting with oil painting? Now, I think that the most difficult part in oil painting is drawing, and one of the best drawing teachers I've ever had is now an author. I'm gonna write his name down. I've written his name before, but I will write his name. Not to write the same thing over and over again, but this guy is a really good teacher, and great at explaining things. Much better than I am at explaining. So John DeMartin is his name. So John DeMartin, he is a published author. He was also one of my teachers when I was studying in Philadelphia. Hey Darla, would you use quick dry medium product for a whole painting? Ooh, I wouldn't cover a whole painting with medium right away. I'd be a little cautious with that. Now, if you're gonna be doing a one-sitting painting, a lot of what I'm saying doesn't really apply, because a lot of what I'm saying applies to a layered painting. Now, if you're gonna do a one-time alla prima painting, I've only seen one painting in my lifetime crack. And this was a painting someone did of me a long time ago. I think maybe like around 2011 or so. And they gave me the painting. And I noticed, they use stand oil. They use stand oil as their medium. And they used a lot of stand oil in the bottom. This was an alla prima painting. And it is the only painting in my possession, the only painting I've ever seen in my lifetime that is cracking. And it actually is starting to crack on the bottom right where there was a lot of stand oil, which I find fascinating. I varnished it, so it's not that. And it's kept in a cabinet, so it's not the conditions. But it was just too much stand oil at that particular instance. But other than that, I've never seen a painting in my lifetime that was created in my lifetime that started to crack. Hey, Mike Parker. Hey, you Pari Dondo and all. I was unwell for the last live one. Oh no, I hope you're doing okay. And just watching for a while. I have to watch this back, as mixing portraits really interests me. Mixing colors for portraits. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you like the subject matter. I was feeling a little sick too, actually. Like last week. I thought I had a fever, so that was freaking me out. But I didn't have a fever. I more or less have a stomach problem, so I may have to see a doctor about that. But I don't know. For the most part, last week I was pretty sick too. But no fever. In case anyone's wondering, I didn't have a fever. I think what I did was pull a muscle, because I'm into fitness, and I did feel like I pulled something. So I've been kind of, I guess I've had a muscle strain, which is, it's nice to paint and sit because it doesn't hurt. Hey Pavlo, do you use any artists do you know any artist that doesn't use medium at all for the oil? Because I don't feel like I need to for now. Actually, Pavlo, my first teacher didn't use medium, and he was a Henry Henshey follower. He actually studied with Henry Henshey. I'm gonna type down the name Henry Henshey. He was an impressionist painter. I hope I can spell his name right. So the artist that I'm talking about studied with Henry Henshey. There. So the artist studied with Henry Henshey, and that school of study, if anyone knows about the Cape Cod School of Art, they would just use palette knife all the way. They would just layer with palette knife, and they wouldn't even use any extra medium. I hope you're doing well too, Donda. Hey Darla, my father was was a painter whose paintings are cracking and flaking after 40 years. Your explanation of the use of medium helped me understand that. Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad that helps. Hey, Stephen, if you go to the National Galleries in London and get close to the paintings, most of them are cracked in some ways, but they're mostly really old paintings. And actually, I've read that a lot of the cracking of old master paintings has been attributed to rabbit skin glue. So apparently, rabbit skin glue. So rabbit skin glue is what they would use to stiffen their linen surfaces. You know, like Rembrandt painted on linen, Sargent, and all of them. And the rabbit skin glue is what I've read is the leading cause of cracking in old master paintings because it's been shown to take in moisture from the air. And you know, anytime you take in moisture in the paint film, it can have some bad effects. Hey, Jimena Bravo. Hello there from Peru as well. Awesome. Oh, I really want a Peruvian dish, man. Again, my favorite Peruvian dish is ají de gallina. And I'm kind of putting in a slight halftone here for the chin. As you notice, the color scheme it has been the same. And it's been really light. And it's exactly how I planned it to be. So that once this dries, I can go in with even smaller shapes, more specificity, and more colors. Hey, Dondo. Yep, rabbit skin glue. Yeah, that has been shown to be one of the leading causes of cracking in old master paintings. And I know artists that actually still use rabbit skin glue to prepare their surfaces. What everyone uses now is acrylic, but we actually don't know how acrylic will hold up over the years. I don't think that there will be that big of a problem with acrylic. Because it's a very strong plasticky surface when it dries. I really don't think acrylic will have too much problems. And again, I only use acrylic as a gesso. So please don't confuse it with using acrylic in the painting because I didn't use it in the painting, just in the gessoing. Hey, Lion Eon Art. Are you an art supply hoarder? I was at one point. But now I'm more or less kind of specializing in the specific paint brands that I use. But if I had the resources to collect a bunch of different paints and brushes and stuff, then I would also. I find that hey Naima, I find that my main painting is my true passion in life. I really enjoy painting because it's a intellectually difficult, but it's also something that is it feels very natural. You're using your left brain, your right brain. Obviously, I know that we use both hemispheres at the same time, but that's only a figure of speech. What I like about painting is that it combines both kind of a creative side and an analytical side at the same time, and you're creating something that will last for centuries, that should last for centuries. And to me, that's always been so, like, I don't know, mind-blowing, I guess. What's the terminology? Mind-boggling. I don't think painting is my hobby, though. I wouldn't consider it a hobby. I've been asked this before. To me, the word hobby is kind of derogatory for painting. For me, personally, to me, this is more of a profession. But my hobbies include motorcycles and animals, in particular reptiles. I love reptiles. But in any case, now I put in a little more of the raw umber and the alizarin crimson here. Do you see this halftone? This is a very important transitioning point. And this is something you can get with that more transparent red. Let's see. Hey, Himmel Storm, what's up? What are the two yellows on your palette? Yeah, good question. I have cadmium yellow from Winsor Newton and yellow ochre. The only reason I have this here, I don't have my usual yellow, which is the Gamboge Lake Extra. It's just by chance that I had this here. The reason I have this one is because it combines well with this, with the ultramarine blue. See that? To create a green. A really nice green. So that's the only reason I have this yellow. I'm not actually going to use cadmium yellow in the skin tones. That usually doesn't go very well with the skin tones. So yellow ochre is the go-to skin color. The yellow for skin tones. And another nice thing about yellow ochre, since we're talking about colors for skin tones, is it's really cheap. It's a very cheap color. And that's a nice thing to have. One of the most important colors ends up being a very cheap color. That's a good, I don't know, to me that's a good thing. Hey Mike, do you have a preference between canvas MDF or canvas or MDF board? When it comes to Alla Prima, I actually like canvas. But when it comes to classical, I prefer to paint on wooden panels, because of the smooth surface. This would be the deltoid along the side of the clavicle here, going down towards the latissimus. Latissimus is down here. Trapezius would be up here. That would give us this little sway here. This goes down towards I think it's the brachialis, I forgot, going down here. But we wouldn't have that much anatomy showing through. And remember, anatomy just helps to place the parts. It shouldn't determine what you put down. It just helps you place things. And yes, if anyone's wondering, the online classes do go, they will go further into anatomy. I have talked about anatomy in my classes, but I'm planning to take it further with practical figure drawing. Which may actually be uploaded on Wednesday. So online students that are listening in right now. As I've been planning out how to introduce figure drawing without the obvious issues that it would have. And yes, I'm going to put in the clothing here. Oh, thank you. I'm not that well versed in anatomy, but I know enough anatomy to do a portrait painting from head to toes. I'm definitely not Robert Liberace when it comes to that, but I have studied anatomy. Let's see. Hey, Chrysalida. Very long time since 1984. I think there was a comment I may have missed before. I apologize if I missed any comments. Hey, Troy Roberts. What have I messed up to this point? Great lesson topic. Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying the topic, Troy. Hey, Naima. Oh, this one is... Okay, I can't read this one. I apologize. I don't know how to read that one. I think maybe we're talking about brushes. These are acrylic brushes. I'm trying to guesstimate what your question was. Acrylic brushes. These are just from Michaels. These are Lanical brushes. Royal, I think Lanical. They're just very cheap brushes. I used a 40% discount on Michaels. Again, I'm not. I'm not sponsored by anyone, so I use whatever coupons I can. Save as much money as I can. Hey Frankovich, I have used Naples Yellow. Yep, Naples Yellow is a good one too. I'm going to put the strap for the shirt. I'm going to need a different brush for that. Hey Darla, have you ever painted on Masonite panels? What is your opinion of them? I really like Masonite panels. I have painted on Masonite panels. They're a little more smooth, I want to say, than MDF, but they're very nice panels too. What I like about the MDF is how smooth they are. They're much more smooth than, Masonite's much more smooth than MDF from my experience. Hey Troy Roberts, has anyone tried Scarlet Lake as a substitute for cadmium red? If it's a lake red, then it sounds like it'd be transparent, but that's a good question. I haven't used it, so maybe someone can answer that one. I haven't used it as a substitute or at all. And if I have, I can't remember. Hey Leon, or Lion, sorry, Lion Eon Art. Have you tried digital painting? I use a drawing app for my virtual classroom for the online classes. So, so again, if anyone's curious about that, I've been pasting this, and our moderator Dondo has been pasting this as well. Here's the link to the Patreon page. I use a drawing app in particular to do my virtual classroom. Here you can actually see how, but no, I haven't completed an entire painting digitally yet. I have used it as well for other things like planning out compositions. I've used it for compositional studies. Here you can actually see just how heavy the flake white is, but it doesn't have too much tinting power like titanium white, because you can still see the layer underneath. Hey Mike Parker, I've used Scarlet Lake Purple for glazing. Oh, that sounds like a nice one to try. Hey Christine, and if the face, okay, let's see. If the face you're painting is just not right, what do you cover it up, or start over? If it's not quite right, number one, you have to ask yourself what you're gonna do with your painting. So, for instance, if you're going to, if you're painting and you know that you're gonna post it to social media, if you're gonna post it, say, to Instagram, no one on Instagram, at least I don't think anyone on Instagram, is going to run a facial recognition software on your painting and say, oh, the likeness isn't quite right. So you have to, at a certain point, prioritize the painting a little more than the likeness, unless it's a commission. If it's a commission, then at that point I would recommend tracing it, tracing the proportions. But for artistic purposes, no one is going to, they're not going to look at your painting and run a facial recognition software and run a likeness match and tell you, oh, your likeness is about 84%. The last time you posted a painting, your likeness was about 92%. What's going on there, buddy? No one's going to do that to you. So you don't really have to worry that much about the likeness. Hey, Chrysalida. Oh, I'm glad that you're enjoying this. Nothing to apologize for. We're all humans. Thanks for the opportunity to chat with everyone. Well, thank you. And yes, Dondo uses Procreate. I need to switch to Procreate at some point for myself, but I still haven't gotten around to it. All right, so the green in the background. Am I going to put the green in the background? And I will eventually put the green in the background, but what I think I'm going to do is draw a little bit more specificity on the face before I start to put anything really in the background. And again, if you like the stream, please leave a like. That will help others find my channel. You know what I will do? I will start to put in more stuff for the hair. And I think I will actually go with a darker value now for the hair. You know, something that I like about Old Holland's Alizarin Crimson like extra is that it dries pretty fast. For an alizarin, it's the fastest drying alizarin that I have next to an alkyd. And of course we're seeing some of her ear here, but I don't think I will put too much for that. That would have been a huge mistake if I left that alone. The edge is just way too sharp over here, so let's soften it. And in instances like this, I have to mix my own color for the edge. So even my edges, I mix something for them, because there's not enough paint in there yet to just take a blending brush and trying to blend it away. Oh, thanks everyone that just left a like. So hey, Mike Parker, I use my iPad to plan out landscape perspective and blocking in. I have used my iPad also for planning out compositions. So I've used the same drawing app for compositions, definitely. Hey TIK, why did you start okay, so why did I start painting? It's a good question. I will say I attribute a lot of my motivation to Elizabeth Louise Vigée Lebrun. She was one of the really great painters of what century? Not 17th century, but I think 18th century. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I probably got that one wrong. Seeing her paintings in a museum, I remember in the Baltimore Museum of Art, just being able to see the craft, the technique, the likeness, not the likeness, because obviously I don't know who she painted, but the skill that went into it, and the feeling of life that I noticed in her paintings really motivated me. But that wasn't when I started painting. That was only when I decided to pursue representational painting. It was in high school that I first even thought about doing an oil painting. I did my first oil painting as a senior or a junior, I forget, in high school. I painted a still life of a clock. I titled it Who Moved My Bottle. There was a clock and a bottle and all kinds of things. I still have that painting. It hasn't cracked. It hasn't cracked. But my first oil painting was a still life, and I really wanted to replicate what I was seeing. I don't know why. I couldn't explain it. But it's just something that I was drawn to. And then later, that interest was definitely expanded on when I saw Vigée Lebrun's artwork. Hey, Chrysalida, how concerned should we be at this point in the painting with blending, especially with when the values are so close? At this point, I would be more focused on the shapes of light and dark and the edges. So again, online students, if you're painting along with me, remember that you can send me an image this week of what you're painting along with me. Or you can just paint or send me an image later, as you know. But at this stage, if you're painting along with me, be cautious with the edges. You don't want too many sharp edges yet. So for instance, this and this, I'm going to soften before the painting session ends. In fact, let me just do that now before I forget. Hey, Troy. Let's see. Oh, you're asking Steven if it would be a substitute for cadmium. Well, I'll let Steven type his answer. What I think is you can substitute colors like cadmiums if you don't want to use cadmiums. It is possible. So again, please feel free to ask me anything on your mind. And again, if you really like what you're seeing here, and you're interested in more educational videos or lessons, please check out my online classes. This is an edge you really want to watch out for too, right there. The hairline. If you make it too sharp, it will appear artificial. So you do have to soften a little bit there. All right, so now I think I can put that kind of greenish tone in the background. Hey, Cristalita, you can eat arroz con pollo for dinner. That would be nice. I usually don't eat very late, though, so after the stream ends, I usually won't eat anything. Maybe a pretzel, but nothing more than that. If I eat really late, then I'd have trouble sleeping. But actually, I already have a lot of trouble sleeping. I don't know if anyone knows this. When you have like ADD or whatever it is, it kind of makes it difficult to sleep or to fall asleep. I wake up at the slightest noise, any noise. I wake up right away. It's like a survival instinct. Hey, Ron. Thank you for the class. Why is it the hat not sharp like the photo? Are you trying to focus on the viewer on the face? Yep, that is true. I do want to focus the viewer's attention here, but I will eventually get into more specificity with the hat, Ron, and I'm probably actually going to do that now. I may put in some more info for the hair, a little bit more for the hair, and then I'll go into the background, and then from the background I'll go into the hat. Hey Chrysalida, I use canvas, but before I paint on it, I put about 3 to 4 coats of acrylic gesso. The surface is much better. That is true. I also find that as well, and then sanding in between. Hey Hollow Moon, you said that I could ask anything. If we were not told so by the media, would we know we were in a pandemic? Oh, thanks. That's an interesting question. You know, you can ask me anything as long as it's not like controversial or curse words or anything. So Hollow Moon, you're good. Don't worry, you're good. I think we would know. I think we humans, we have more fine-tuned instincts than we think. I think that we would instinctually know something's up. Hey Lion, Eon Art, have you tried water mixable oils? Do you recommend it for beginners? Yeah, I do have experience with water mixable. In particular, I'll type it out for you. Cobra. This is the one I recommend for water mixable oils. This is the one I recommend. The only thing is, like I mentioned before, had I started this with water mixable oil paints, I started this one on Saturday, and it was ready to rework today, Monday. I would have had to wait until next Saturday or 2 days after next Saturday for this to be workable again if it were water mixable. Water mixable does take a long time to dry. Hey, I'm Coach. What's up? Welcome to the stream. Hi, I'm back from the mountains. Ooh, the mountains. I'm getting back to work on my painting now. Thank you. Awesome. Oh, I want to visit the mountains. I like scenery. Mountain views and everything. Now I'm gonna mix up the green for the background. But I won't cover the entire background, just around the face. I'll put in more background stuff next time. But I just want to gauge for the face. More for the value than anything. Because it is pretty dark. And we'll make it closer to that olive-ish color. So yellow ochre. I'm going to throw in a little bit of medium. Not a lot. I would almost need like an Indian yellow, I think, for that. Like a transparent, deep yellow. Actually, you know what? It's not on here, but I'm going to use it. I'm sneaking in a color here. My Old Holland Gamboge Lake Extra. Let's see. Hey, Snorlax 5000. Wouldn't the paint peel off the aluminum or metal panel? Do you have to treat the metal? I did. I heard that you don't have to, but I did anyway. I gessoed it with I gessoed it the same as I would gesso any any wooden panel. And no, I don't think it'll peel off. If anything, metal panels are more, I think they're more archival than any other surface that I know of. So like I was saying, this painting in particular may outlive all of my paintings. So if anyone's interested in purchasing a painting that will that one of my original paintings that will outlive any of my other paintings. This is the one. This one will outlive them all. This will run laps around my other paintings in terms of the shelf life, if we put it that way. That's too blue, so I'm gonna mix a different color for that. Let's see. Oh, I think I missed something. Okay, so that's conversation between commenters. Hey Cigar, your thoughts on Winton from Winsor Newton for beginners? You can use Winton if you prefer. I've had students in my in-person classes use it. It's just that it's gonna be more oily than Winsor Newton, and Winsor Newton is already pretty oily. You can use it as long as you're focused on the fundamentals. You can definitely use it as a starter set of colors. But then eventually I would recommend transitioning into the artist grade. Let's see. Hey Marty, if I don't like the canvas grain on my paintings, what is the best surface to paint on other than canvas? Panels all the way. I prefer to paint on wooden panels, but I'm not really having too much of an issue. Actually, I'm noticing the difference right away as I say that. So this right here is the first layer in the background other than the tone that we had before. But this has about 2 layers now. And I feel a big difference now with the aluminum, especially the paint buildup. It feels very solid. It's a weird feeling to describe. It's a very solid, it feels like it's going to be a very thick and solid paint film. Wow, I'm gonna read a question. Sorry, I can't read your username. I don't know how to read it, but thank you for writing your comment. Wow, what great art! Thank you. You probably am one of your Middle Eastern fans. Thank you for your teaching and inspiring me a lot. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for watching the videos. Let's see. Hey, Coach. One of the benefits of gesso panels is being able to sand back to the pure white. Yep, that's definitely true. Hey, Hollow Moon. Have you used rosemary brushes? No, actually, I haven't used rosemary. Those are rosemary and silver brushes are very highly recommended, and in the media. But they're very expensive, in my opinion. And I get by pretty well with less expensive acrylic brushes. So, no. I personally don't think that I would go to the store and spend the extra $20 to $30 on a paintbrush for rosemary or silver brush. The Princeton does pretty well. This is a Princeton brush. This is my favorite brush, which, by the way, is also in the description box. I think I also titled it my favorite brush. Hey Steven, I'm going to start painting this one tomorrow. Wish me luck. Awesome. Yeah, definitely. There's still going to be at least a video or two more, a stream or two more on this, more into this painting. So yeah, definitely feel free to paint along with me, Steven. And since you are an online student, you can send me your image any given week. I did receive your image, by the way, your email. Usually what I do is as soon as I get a message from containing an image from one of my students for the virtual classroom, I archive it, I star it so that I know to use the image for the virtual classroom. Hey, Hollow Moon. Maybe because I'm in the UK, they're not too pricey. Could be. They're very pricey here in the US. A lot of YouTube artists are already sponsored, I think, by Rosemary. So there's a lot of hype towards it, and I know that I know that they have to be good brushes. But again, it's just the cost is too much for me. I prefer to spend more on the paints. And the painting surfaces. All right, now let's put some stuff for the hat. Hey, Steven, here's a tip someone told me, and I have used it with Winton or student grade oil paint. Squeeze it into an absorbent cardboard. Squeeze it onto absorbent cardboard for an hour to extract the excess oil. Awesome. I actually do that even with Winsor Newton, with the artist grade. I find myself having to do that too, but I usually just put it onto paper towel. Oh, thanks, Steven. And way up there, I actually have some orange left from the pumpkin painting. So I'm just taking it and using it. All right, so as I expected, since we are continuing a painting, the stream is slowing down a little bit. So I'm going to introduce a crowd question. It's the first time I've introduced a crowd question today, I think. So the question is, I think it's going to be a predictable one. What is currently on your easel at the moment? I mean, what, a drawing or a painting, and what is the subject? So on mine, there is a portrait. Yep, there is a portrait. Hey, Ron, a portrait too? Awesome. Hey, Steven. Oh, you're working on the barber one? Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see it. I've starred your email, but I can't wait to click onto it and see it. Hey, Angela, 2 portraits. Awesome. Let's see, Darla drawing a flower for watercolor painting. Awesome. Troy, Project 1 is a monochromatic study. Awesome. Edward Soto, a seascape. The cool thing about it is that there is no sand, just rocks. Ooh, that's gotta be complicated. Whoops. Hey, Kathy, the pearl earring. Awesome. Your paintings are coming out wonderfully as well, Kathy. The pearl earring project, as well as the painting of Sophia for project 3, or that one's project 2. Hey Steven, tomorrow this one from the other image. Yep. Oh, you can still send me the what you paint even if you use the other image. If it's that similar, it should work. But of course that's up to you. Now, of course, the dark for the hat. Hey, Mark. Keenan, monochrome of Jimi Hendrix. Awesome. Hey, Shia. I have an oil pastel portrait. Awesome. I used oil pastel once before. I don't know what on earth happened to the oil pastels I used to have, but they're pretty fun to build up, the layers. Hey, Bert, 2008 before 6'9", tree trunk, acrylic large canvases, and small canvas flower. Awesome. Very earthy. Hey, Akaw, just got your message. I will save it for the virtual classroom. And just like that, we have painted a hat. Hey, BVM, oil painting of an old convent nested beside a river at sunset. Wow. Sounds awesome. Hey, Naima, you used the mope brush? Mope? Do you mean this? This is an Egbert. Egbert brush? I think that's a typo. I think you mean like a flat brush, or this was a filbert. It's all used up now, so it's kind of something in between. Well, thanks, Dondo. So at this point, I'm not really going to stress myself over all the stuff in the background. This is more or less just a value to compare with the values on the skin tones. And pretty much almost got everything I need for the color layer of the portrait. But I'm still going to paint a little bit more. I may cover somewhat of the back, of the model's back, just so it doesn't dry so kind of noisy. Oh, mop brush to blur. Oh, there you go. All right, I got another crowd question. Has anyone seen Space Jam, the movie? This crowd question is gonna come from Space Jam. Uh, so do you remember in Space Jam, if you've seen that movie, the uh, some of the characters get the abilities of some of the NBA players? Um, my crowd question is, if you could have the painting ability of anyone in history for a day, who whose ability would you have? I choose Nelson Shanks. If I could paint like Nelson Shanks for a day, oh, that would be so awesome. So my answer is Nelson Shanks. So if I magically had Nelson Shanks painting ability for a day, that would be so awesome. So there is Nelson Shanks. Now, for the crowd question, please type the name of the artist of whom you would like to have their painting skills for a day. Hey, Darla, Sargent. That was a close one for me. I was thinking Sargent too. Yeah, Sargent's awesome. Caravaggio, Mark, Troy Caravaggio easily, definitely. Donda Leonardo, awesome. There we go. I was waiting for that one. Bouguereau. You know, out of all of them, I think to me the biggest mystery is Sargent. I think because he would, I don't know, he would make his paintings look alla prima, but they weren't. Artemisia Gentileschi, awesome. Oh, thanks, Kathy. Oh, thank you so much. Hey, Edward Soto. I would like to have the same ability to paint as Andrew Tischer. The guy does magic with his paintings. Awesome. Artemisia Gentileschi. That's a great choice right there. David Dowden. Van Gogh, Camaro 23. Awesome. Marty Glenn or Genplay. Vladimir Volkolev. Yep. Awesome YouTube painter. Hey, Camaro 23. I like Fisher's portraits, but not so much as landscapes. Fisher. Oh, the Tisher. Awesome. Hey, David. Better to spend a little extra quality on paints than brushes. I feel the same way too. Watercolor brushes are good enough to use on oils and acrylics. I use all brushes. Cheaper are just as good. Yep, this brush right here is probably cost less than $1, so I stand by that as well. Let's see. Hey, Susanna S. Velasquez. That's a good one too. Yeah, Velasquez is like Sargent to me, a mystery. Well, Sargent is like Velasquez, a mystery. What I really wish I could see is what Velasquez's underpaintings look like. And also with Caravaggio, I'd really be curious to see what his under drawings looked like. I can figure out what his under paintings looked like, but his drawings, I have no clue. And with Sargent, I would like to see what his first layers would look like, because obviously he was known for going in straight with color and then scraping it off. So I'd be very curious to see what it looks like. Hey Darla, I have previously worked only in watercolor, and to me both the brush and paint are the thing to spend on. It could be different with watercolor, I think, because it's I guess there's more of a calligraphy to it because it dries more quickly. Yeah, that's one of the things I hear about acrylic, that in acrylic one tends to go through um, brushes more. Hey Cassandra, Furman base. Okay, I have to look this one up. Awesome. Hey Melanie Mendoza, hello. Edges, edges, and more edges. For some reason, this still is too sharp. That edge is a little better now. So now I'm going to go back towards the cheekbone. That's a little too vague here. All right, so next crowd question. This is also going to involve artists. Let's see. Oh, wait, hold on. So Marty, I never understood artists like Jackson Pollock or Paul Klee. What is your opinion on abstract art? Good question. My opinion on abstract art is that, number one, I do consider it a good compositional study. I think the abstract is the building block. The abstract is the foundation of representational art. Now, when it comes to Jackson Pollock and artists like that, I think it's just more of I don't know, more of a don't want to say a fad, but more of a, those paintings were definitely meant to evoke emotion from viewers because they were so radical. So in a sense, it pushed people to think in a different way than they were used to thinking with art. So that's what I think about that, is that it was meant to provoke a different type of thinking when it comes to art. And they do a good job. I mean, I actually like Jackson Pollock painting. I will walk in front of Jackson Pollock in the, well, back before the world ended, in the National Gallery of Art, and I would enjoy it. I would enjoy seeing all the textures and everything. I don't know if anyone knows this, but in one of the Jackson Pollocks, there's a roach, the bug, painted into the paint, which I found very fascinating. Hey Steven, I quite like Mondarian. I have to look this one up. So this leads me to another crowd question. I think everyone's had a moment like this, but so a crowd question is, which artist inspired you to pursue painting, or which artist inspires you to pursue painting? And for me, I missed the accent here on her name, but as I mentioned, Vigée Lebrun. So Vigée Lebrun, she definitely, her paintings definitely inspired me to pursue representational painting in the past. So now, before the question was if you could paint like someone for a day, now the question was which painters or painter inspired you to pursue painting? I should have added a when too, because for me that was like back in 2009, 2008. Hey Darla Vermeer, awesome. Stephen Bob Ross. I like your transition, Stephen, from being first inspired by Bob Ross and then the transition to Bouguereau. That's awesome. Hey Dondo, Norman Rockwell, awesome. Hey David Dowden, Delacroix, awesome. Dondo, Bob Ross, awesome. Mark Keenan, A.Y. Jackson. Gotta look that one up. I gotta look this one up too, Troy. James Gurney, first, then you. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you, Troy. Cassandra Renoir, Edward Soto, Michael and Angelo. Why? Because thanks to a book I read, I now know that he was the richest painter of the time. Awesome. Well, that's motivation right there. I wish I knew his secrets when it comes to that. Hey, Stephen. 2 years, 7 months ago. Wow. Now there's a whole bunch of definition that I can add here, but not just yet. I'm gonna let that build in the next layer. So I think I'm actually almost there for what I wanted to portray today. And with the classical approach, I always tell my students to work no more than, I don't know, no more than 2 hours at a time. If it's alla prima, it's a whole different story. Alla prima, as you know, the alla prima paintings would be completed in about 3 hours. This isn't going to be the case. Hey, Mark Keenan, Tom Thompson. Awesome. So many names I have to look up. Susanna S., Bob Ross. I'm loving all the Bob Ross responses. Hey, Marty Glenn Play. I started oil painting because of Kevin oil painting videos here on YouTube. I always wanted to learn oil painting and I was afraid of it. Awesome. I think I have seen some of his videos. I think he's also in the Bob Ross, Bill Alexander style. Seems like a very friendly guy. Hey, BVM, Bob Ross. Hey, Bert, 2008 Oh, thank you. I'm glad you find this to be inspiring. Hey, BVM. Currently, Stephen Conway of Ireland. Awesome. Hey, Marty Glenn, again, play. Yep, but Kevin doesn't paint portraits. Oh. I can't imagine the alla prima and portrait are I don't recommend it to anyone. Portrait definitely is something I would only do through layers. I have done alla prima portraits, but I will tell you now, I think I have maybe 3 alla prima portraits that survived to this day. The rest were torn up or just painted over. Hey, Cassandra Pinot. Okay, I have to look this one up. Although that name rings a bell. Was also an influence. I recently bought a book with his works. Not the book covers, but his fine art paintings. The name rings a bell, but I can't quite recall completely. Hey, Steven. Yeah, I think Kevin is the best alla prima landscape painter on YouTube. He finessed the Bob Ross Alexander style. I think so too. I do remember seeing his some of his videos, and I haven't seen a lot of art videos on YouTube, but his are one of the ones that caught my attention quickly. I think mainly because of the similarity to the Bob Ross, but yeah, his landscapes are really wonderful. Hey, Mark Keenan, Fred Varley portraits. Awesome. I gotta look this one up. So many names I need to look up. Edwin Holgate from Montreal. Hey, Roger King. What reds are you using? I'm using Cadmium Red Vermilion from Williamsburg and Alizarin Crimson Lake Extra. Old Holland. I'm trying to read. If I could copy and paste it to Google Translate for French. I think this is French. I'm understanding Renaissance and a question mark. What do I think about Renaissance style or type of paintings? I think that's like the building block, I think, of classical painting. Hey Steven, I did several of Kevin's, which greatly helped me with paint handling, but then I always wanted to do portraits, and then I found, oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Steven. That means a lot to me, thank you. Hey Mark, did you paint the back of your glass palette? Actually, no, this is, I'll just show you. This is a t-shirt that is wrapped over top of a drawing pad that's on my tripod. This is this right here is just a piece of paper. I cut up the cover of a Strathmore drawing pad and just taped it on there for the chat box. And this is a panel that I painted over. This is actually a panel that I'll probably use once I run out of panels. So now I just have the glass resting on something. Hey Marty, Stephen Beard, same story with me. I started with Kevin and then, oh, thank you. Thanks, Marty. I should be thanking Kevin as well. Hey, Cassandra. Sorry, I misspelled. His name is Pino Darni Giuseppe. Okay, I have to look this one up. Awesome. Hey, Nelly. Oh, thank you. Do you apply any varnish after you finish your painting? How long do you wait to apply it? I am now actually using this one right here for varnish. This is Gamblin's Gamvar Gloss. And I use this when the painting is touch dry. And it's nice to not have to wait the whole 6 months with a traditional varnish like Damar. So with Gamvar, you can varnish when the painting is touch dry. But I would wait about at least 2 weeks with traditional oil paints, and maybe about 2 months with water mixable. Oh, I got it. Cassandra. Yeah, I gotta look this name up. Thank you. Hey, Susanna. If anybody's interested, the latest series of Sky Art's Portrait Artist of the Year begins Wednesday at 8 p.m. Awesome. So that should air right after my stream ends on Wednesday. So then I could probably check it out. Awesome. Thanks for pointing that out. Hey, Mark Keenan, very creative problem solving. Thank you. I, I I think you're referring to the painting, but this is a lot of problem solving. If that's what you mean, yeah, definitely. Thanks for noticing. Hey, Atar. Oh, thanks. Thanks for watching from Morocco, North Africa. Awesome. I think her eyes can be a little bit bigger. Let's see. Hey, Naomi, Gamvar. So Gamvar is not available. I think that's what not available. So if Gamvar is not available, then Demar is the traditional one that everyone uses. But Demar, it's like Gamvar but spelled with a D. Demar is it's like the very classical varnish. That's the one that one has to wait for 6 months. Gamvar is touch dry. You can wait for it to be touch dry for Gamvar. Demar is the one that takes 6 months. Let's see. Hey, Steven, my palette is an old tempered glass. I may go with a second hand shop for 20 currency and Gesso the reverse. Awesome. I prefer to work on handheld palettes, but this is mainly just for so that everyone can see what I'm doing. Hey, Naima, no worries. No worries. Thank you for watching, Naima. Hey Mark, tempered glass from an old fridge is what I'm looking for to use as a palette. I've used so many things. I've taken apart tables and used that for palettes. Does anyone recall that huge glass palette I had when I was filming the voiceover ones like not too long ago? That was from a table that I took apart. I think this glass is from hmm, a picture, art print picture. Now that I think about it, I really need to get on the art prints. I keep saying that, but I think what I'm gonna ultimately do is use a print on demand service, so you can order prints directly from my Etsy shop, and a third party will complete the print making process for me, and I just submit the image to them. Hey Susanna, BST British Summertime. Uh, I think you're about 5 hours behind in Maryland. Probably. It's 8 o'clock p.m. here. Hey Marty, my palette is just a large. Wait, if it's 8 o'clock p.m. here, then it's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. Oh wow, then it's really late over there. Hey Marty, my palette is just a large white tile left over from the bathroom. It's really easy to clean. I've always wanted to use a tile to clean. I have tiles that I use for my bearded dragons. I'm just making sure the eyes are the same size, which they seem to be. And you can do that with pretty much any caliber. The one you broke, question mark. You mean the palette, Steven? The palette I broke was also from a picture. That's where I tend to get all of my glass palettes from. Is from just pictures that break. Not break, sorry. Pictures that I take apart and then just reuse the glass. Hey, Steven. Oh, your photographer friends use a third party. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's definitely the route I think I'm gonna have to go because it's just me, myself, and I. I don't have a team, so I'd rather be painting instead of editing, which is why I enjoy streaming. But streaming also gives me the ability to interact with everyone, so that's another plus. And then using a third party will also help me out because I can sell prints. I won't make as much money from it, but I'll be able to at least have prints available. Even if it'll only help me with like pennies. Pennies are better than nothing. Because trust me, it's difficult. Let's see. Never thought to use a caliper. Very cool. Oh, awesome, Mark. Yeah, you can use any caliper really, or you can just do something like this, like turn the brush into a caliper. Like I could have, done something like this and checked this, but a caliper is just easier for me to gauge. Hey, Lion, Ian, Art. Do you consider that the surface to paint makes the difference when it comes to painting Yeah, definitely. I do think that the surface is really important. I prefer wooden panels, even though this aluminum one is actually starting to grow on me. I'm actually really liking how it builds, how it layers, but I typically will recommend to use wooden panels. Hey, Waning's on. What's up? Her head in the painting tilts more forward. Yep. Yeah, I messed up. Um, the tilt isn't quite right. Um, but I mean, at this point, it's going to stay the way it is. Hey, I'm Coach. Oh, I'm glad you like the online classes. So again, everyone, our link is right about there. So if you like what you're seeing here, please check out my online classes. Again, they're only $10 a month. Gets you access to all of the painting lessons, virtual classrooms, and you can send images to me each week. You don't have to, but you have the ability to send me images each week. And you can work at your own pace. I think I'm about good with what I wanted to do. As I mentioned, I didn't put any major color variation in the skin tone yet, except for the lips. The angle is definitely off, but it's I'm just going to live with it. I don't particularly dislike it. I like that she's leaning more towards this direction, which gives a nice gesture to the composition. Remember, gesture is the movement of the pose. The gesture is the movement that the model is making in space. So I like the gesture that we have here. It's not exactly like that, but I can live with it. Now I'm just going to soften some edges, and then that should be about it. So please type any questions that you have on your mind. It's going to be our little Q&A. So any questions? It's Q&A time now. Hey, Mark Keenan, going to try and get my banking institute to set me up with your Patreon. Awesome. And again, please just check out the link that my moderator, Dondo, and I are posting. It's the same link here, so just please check out the link. All you have to do is just click on it. If you're interested in the classes, you can click onto it. And I should be able to do I think Patreon should be able to do international. Hey, Steven, I prefer the way you've placed the head in the painting. It makes for a better viewing experience. Well, thank you. I mean, I did mess up, but as Bob Ross would say, it's a happy accident. Happy accident for sure. Doesn't always happen that way with portraits, but I guess it happened with this one. What was I going to do? Soften this. The clean and dry synthetic. And let me know how you're enjoying the streams. In particular, we changed gears a little bit, transitioning into a portrait after not doing a portrait for a long time. I hope that everyone's enjoying the streams. And thank you for everyone that's writing comments and watching the stream, the pre-recorded video after the stream ends. You're definitely helping me a lot here. Edward, what colors do you use for those skin tones? So I used the 4-color. Wow, I didn't notice that my text was. Wow, my text was a little overlapping, but oh well. I guess I can't do anything about that now. The main colors that I use for skin tones are Flake White, Yellow, Flake White, Williamsburg, Old Holland, Yellow Ochre Deep, Williamsburg, Cadmium Red Vermilion, and Ivory Black. This is Williamsburg. I didn't use the cadmium yellow in the skin tone at all. I didn't really use the ultramarine blue in the skin tone. I just used those two for the background. I used the Alizarin Crimson Lake Extra, the Old Holland, for the lips color, for a kind of a deep red. The raw umber. Let's see. Hey, Fran, I just got your message on Patreon. I'll respond to you when the stream ends. I'll get to the messages on Patreon. So the raw umber I use to bring or to change the value of the skin tones. So Fran, if you mean who's the model, this is from Unsplash. The reference is on the in the community section of the YouTube channel. And yeah, I think I've explained the usage of all of these. And then this is my medium here, Venetian medium. Alrighty, let's see. Hey, David Lawrence, the best glass palette is a New Wave Posh glass palette. I agree, I do have that one as well. I have the smaller one. Quite expensive, but better than the wood. Tempered glass, doesn't break. Although I do prefer to use the wooden palette. I was using my wooden palette just before the stream, actually. Hey Marty, Glenn Play, what are you doing with the leftover colors on your palette after the painting is finished? Actually, these colors I took right off of my wooden palette that's across the room from me. So I just leave them on the glass and then reuse them because I paint almost every day. So I paint frequently enough to not worry about the paint drying too much. But if you're worried about the paint drying, then you can also put it in a Tupperware container. Seal it with a Tupperware container, and it will help to preserve the paints. Let's see. Hey Troy Roberts, no question, but it's a lot of fun to paint along and just have commentary and you painting too. Awesome. Well, thanks, Troy. I'm glad you enjoyed. And again, online students, remember, you can send me, feel free to send me your images for this week's virtual classroom if you are painting along with me here. And you can send it along with your class projects too. Hey Nelly, how do you prepare the wooden panels? So I prepare the wooden panels using this right here, and this is in the description box down below, link to Amazon. So Liquitex Professional Acrylic Gesso, which by the way, I heard in the news there's going to be a big sale going on tomorrow and the day after on Amazon. I'm kind of broke at the moment, so I'm not really going to buy anything, but you can definitely check out Amazon for some potential savings on your purchases tomorrow and the day after. Hey Steven, I also like the lacy top effect you've created. Works very well. Oh, and I prefer the portrait streams. Oh, I'm glad that you prefer the portrait streams because I don't know. To me, this is like my natural environment. This is kind of where my painting experience mostly comes from, is with this. I better not forget to run the fan brush through a little bit so nothing dries too kind of clumpy. That ought to be good. Let's see. Hey Trey and or Trey J Narbona. Just wanted to say thanks. You definitely inspire me. Oh, thank you. I love the careless approach. It makes you feel incredibly free and unrestricted. Oh, thank you. I try to be somewhat, free and trying to find form with freedom, as Nelson Shanks would say, when painting. I try to do that. Hey, Lion Eon Art. When you take breaks from painting, what do you do? Question mark. I watch anime. Me, I hang out with my pets, and I oftentimes will call up my fiance and talk with her about just random things. I'm also broke at the moment because I finally saved enough money to buy another bike. So I have another bike, so that's going to be a thing. But mainly I spend time with my pets. That's what I do when I'm not painting. I'm caring for my pets. I rehoused one of my red knee tarantulas earlier today. I had fun creating the enclosure, the new enclosure. So I like doing things like that. And I also like creating, or I like preparing sushi rolls too. That's another thing I like doing. But in terms of anime, my fiance and I do watch, we were watching One Piece and then we caught up to it. So now we're watching Seven Deadly Sins. Hey, Christina Golding, would you like, you would like Cesar Santos? He's a master of light and dark. Definitely. Yeah, definitely heard of Cesar Santos. I've never met him in person, but I really enjoy his YouTube channel and his artworks. In particular, his figurative painting. Oh, thank you, Edward, for watching. And thank you, Donda, for being our moderator. So everyone, let's give a thumbs up for Dondo, our moderator. Well, thank you so much, Dondo. Thumbs up from me, a literal thumbs up here for being our moderator. So, do you paint every day? Almost. I usually don't paint Sunday and Thursdays. Sundays and Thursdays, I'm usually off work. But pretty much every day, but Sunday and Thursday. Hey, Mark Keenan, what type of bike? I have a Police Special. I'll tell you, I just bought this one. It's a 08 FZ6. I have an 08 FZ6 now. It's a if you know it, it's the Yamaha FZ6. It's the one with the R6 engine. Oh, I hear some thunder outside. Interesting. Yep, and thank you so much, Dondo. Hey, Naima. Oh, thank you. Thank you for watching. So I'll just hang out a little bit, and what I usually do is I clean my brushes, and I wait for any kind of questions to come in. So I usually just group together the short-handled brushes, like these. Group them together and clean them all at once. Yep, thumbs up for Dondo. Thank you so much, Dondo, for being our moderator. And thank you for the super chat. And I just have a little thing down here with paper towel. Hey, Steven. Oh, you did have the FZ6. Oh, awesome. Wait, what? They were 25 years. I think that's a different bike. I think the FZ6 started in the early 2000s. I don't know. But yeah, I do enjoy the 600s. It's just enough power without being too crazy. I don't know. I'm more into the sport touring. I'm not really. When I was younger, I was into the racing scene, but now I'm more into the sport touring. Hey, Solwa. Oh, you're welcome. Do you also paint if you are tired? I mean, if you're not feeling inspired, do you paint anyways? So that's an interesting question. Usually, if I'm not inspired, I do work in my studio, like I clean it or reorganize it. And that oftentimes inspires me to paint. Or I'll just go to the art store, walk around the art store, and that sometimes will motivate me to paint again. Um, if I lack motivation. But usually I do paint even if I'm tired. Let's see. Hey Marty, I only have a bicycle. That's all good. I like bicycles as well. Although growing up, the sport that I did was rollerblading, like in the skate parks and the half pipes and things. Hey Markinen, you're into antique bikes. Oh, awesome. Yeah, I like the cafe racer look. Hey Steven, I'll email you a photo of sometime. I had many bikes. Now I prefer ragtop sports cars. Awesome. Yeah, definitely send me the images. I'd love to see them. Hey Solwa, yeah, no problem. Yeah, feel free to ask me anything. Again, I'm just cleaning my brushes. I have two more brushes to clean, and then I'll probably even clean the palette while I'm waiting for any kind of questions. Because I do know it does take about a minute or so, sometimes more, for the internet to catch up. But this experience has been great, I think. And I hope everyone's enjoying this experience. This is the evolution, really, from the very beginning. We've been building up to this. And I'm hoping to have a multi-camera setup at some point in the future. Hey, Darla, when will we work on this again? Hopefully on Wednesday, the same time. So around 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I had to start today at 5:30. I was doing maintenance for my pets, so I was running a little late. But usually Wednesday, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Monday is 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Saturday. And this one, we'll be working on this one for the upcoming painting sessions till we take it to completion. And I'm thinking of starting both a still life and a classical landscape. So classical still life, classical landscape. So now we're transitioning towards the more planned and layered paintings. I want you to see the paintings created that I'm going to sell and create prints of. So, for instance, once this is done, I'm going to create prints of this, and you'll be able to see the entire process. You would have been here live watching the painting created that, other people would be buying prints of. Ideally, hopefully, people will want to buy prints. So I want to show you more of how I actually work. So let's see. Hey Mark, what time is your next live stream? Hopefully, if the technology works out, the next live stream is Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And again, I'm going to post my little link here that we've been posting. So our moderator and me we've been posting this. So if anyone is interested in the online classes, please check out the link right there to my Patreon. Again, the classes are only $10 a month. Just look for the online class / mentorship tier. Hey Mark, classical anything is great. I love learning. Awesome. I'm glad you like classical. And again, my style is actually a mix between alla prima and classical because the way I teach is classical, meaning I won't go into monochrome right away, and I create drawing templates for my online students. So those are drawing tools to help them. But I mean, yeah, I do want to create more of these more I guess more finished paintings for art prints. And also you can help me as well. I mean, just let me know if there's something in the painting before I finish it that you think I should change before I start to sell prints of it. And you can also help me with that, so we can work together. Hey Solwa, oh thank you. I'm glad you like the idea. Hopefully the idea is of the prints. Hey Michael, how you party love your work? Thank you. How do you keep your brushes or your palette fresh from one day to the next? I just use the glass, so I scrape with the razor. With wooden palettes, I have some that I clean every time I use. Others I just let the paint dry on the edges. Hey, Edward, when you sell art prints, what will the finished size? This finished size from the print on demand service I'm looking into called Print. I think it's Printful. You should be able to scale it. I mean, if this is 9 by 12, you may be able to scale it by some multiple of it, but usually the same size, like this would be 9 by 12, and you'd be able to order a 9 by 12. And the prints shouldn't cost that much. They shouldn't cost, I don't think, more than like $50 US, I don't think. I hope not. Hey, Karam. Oh, thank you. Hey, Darla, could you create something that teaches how to make and sell prints for our work? I can do that once I start to sell prints. And if I start to create prints and no one buys them, I'll let you know. And I don't know, maybe we can figure out, maybe no one likes the paintings I make on Etsy. I don't know. I mean, I can let you know how that works out. I'm hoping that on Etsy people would want to buy the prints. I'm hoping, but you never know. But yeah, once I get experience, I can talk about it. Hey, sorority. Hey, dude, just popping in to say awesome. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
What? I wasn't talking to you, Siri. Oh my goodness. Siri's trying to take the credit here. Hey, Edward. Oh, thank you. And again, I'm hoping that the prints won't be too expensive. That's really gonna depend on the print on demand service. Hey, Susanna. Just heard, portrait artist of the week live paint along is back on Sunday at 10 a.m. British summertime. Anyone can access it through Sky's live Facebook page. Awesome. I'm glad I don't live stream on Sunday. That's great. I'll probably be on my bike on Sunday and Thursday and possibly tomorrow. Hey, Darla. I am on Etsy a lot, and I think your art is better than most of it. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Right now, I only have one original painting for sale, but I mean, I get it. Original paintings are very expensive, so that's why I'm going to be creating the prints using print on demand. And I do want to introduce more picturesque landscape and picturesque still life, and we'll work on it together, and let's see how the Etsy ends up turning out. Hopefully it turns out well. So at this point, the last thing for me to do is to seal the solvent container, and I always lose the lid to my solvent. It's like a constant thing for me. So yeah, feel free to type any last questions as I look for my lid. Oh, it's gone. Yep, it's gone. I don't know where it is. And what I do is I get the paint rag. So this is the paper towel that I was using, and I put it in a metal container when I'm done painting for the day. Not just because of the flammable aspect of it, but because turpentine can smell kind of strong. Hey Solwa, I paint with acrylics. Let's see, I paint with acrylics. I have never taken classes. Do you think if you want to sell your paintings, you need to have a professional class in your history in order to sell? No, I don't think so. I don't think so, Solwa. I think as long as you are passionate about your art, there will be a market for it. Hey, Edward Soto. For my solvents, I just use a bunch of salsa jars. That's awesome. I do like to use salsa jars for it too, but I oftentimes end up knocking it over. So that's why I just use this, because it's not that easy to knock over. But I always knock over a jar if I have a jar with solvents. The only thing with the container is I end up losing the lid. And I also like to use these. These are nice to use as well. But the problem is these are really hard to clean when they get all gunky in the bottom. So that's why I kind of have been using the metal container. The metal container instead. Hey Troy, I'm real bad at mixing paints and loading the brush. It always ends up massively covered in paints. Any tips? My biggest suggestion, and I say this to everyone, I get that question a lot, is to have a kind of system with your brushes. Like I usually have light brush, middle tone brush, dark brush for values, but I'll also differentiate between complementary. So like this one may be for the reds, this one will be for the greens, and so on and so forth. It helps to have different brushes to keep everything organized, and it does get confused once in a while, but that's okay. It's natural. I really want to find that lid. I'm so determined to find that lid. And it just like magically disappears. Let's see. I saw what your energy is so beautiful. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. That means so much. Hey, Bert, 2008 before 69. Yep. See you next time. All right, everyone. I think I'm gonna sign out now. I promise at some point I'll find my solvent lid, but I have everything cleaned and prepared, I guess, for the next painting session. So thanks everyone. All right, so thank you so much everyone for watching. Remember, if you like what you've seen here, please check out my online classes on patreon.com, again for $10 a month. Also, I should be back on Wednesday around the same time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It may be 5:30 sometimes, but usually around that time. So remember, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, and sometimes we'll have a surprise session in between. But thank you so much. Oh, Mic Drop Paint, what's up? Oh, no worries, buddy. This painting session has ended, but no worries. We'll be back on Wednesday, and this footage will be available to watch after the stream ends. Thanks, Mic Drop Paint. Alrighty. I apologize to be heading out as soon as you show up. Sorry, buddy. Alrighty. I wish you all the very best in all of your artwork, and I will see you on the next one.